Those of you that know Magic Month will know that I am obsessed with eclipse windows. Like, eclipse windows are my absolute favorite time to do my self-work and my healing work and my deep core transformation work. And the reason is that every single time I do any kind of healing in an eclipse window, by the next eclipse window, it has shown up and manifested in my reality. And this has happened so many times that I am just like, eclipse windows are amazing. They magnify everything you do and they accelerate everything you do. And they really have such a bigger impact on, until you're kind of conscious on it and doing it, you don't realize what a big impact they have and what amazing potential they have. And sheerly through my own experience, through my own path, I have now decided that eclipse windows are the best time to do your shadow work. And shadow work means subconscious. And so the best time to do your shadow healing is in an eclipse window, because it's been, you know, when we heal our subconscious, that's when we create the most transformation in our lives. Shadow healing is about accessing what you cannot see. That's why it's called shadow. And you go into the subconscious and uproot the things that are no longer of service to you, that you are creating from, because your subconscious also manifests as well as your consciousness. And so your subconscious is often the thing that is causing the blocks in your life, the problems in your life, when you're trying to be somebody and you're not quite managing to live those thoughts, words, actions, and vibrations to be that person. So often it's because of what's going on in the subconscious. And so I am a massive believer in the importance of shadow work in terms of creating the life we want, in terms of ascending, in terms of crystallining, because shadow work is also an offering of old energy into a recycling process. That means that energy is actually produced so that you can consciously and actively be part of the crystallining ascension process. And so I am always excited about every eclipse window. This eclipse window is particularly amazing and particularly rare. So I think the next eclipse, I haven't gone that far ahead, Jess, but they're usually about 6 months apart. So the next eclipse window, I believe, is in December. It starts in like mid-December time, but I will have to check that. But yeah, they usually get 2 within a year, and maybe November. So that kind of either side of the year, and they really mark the healing journey. Like whatever the eclipse window kind of ceremonially opens the journey until the next eclipse window, and that's why it's I cannot tell you, like when I was, doing a healing the mother wound journey in an eclipse window, the night of the next eclipse, my mum flew to Japan and our relationship had totally transformed and healed. When I was doing a journey last year about exploring the wounds around name, part of this healing I was doing was all about your name. And by the next eclipse window, I was taking on my higher self name. Last eclipse window, I was, the course we were running was called Overflowing with Love, and I am so overflowing and in love right now, especially as we're getting closer to the eclipse window. So it's like they are just amazing, like they are. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, actually, of course they're the right time for shadow, because the eclipses are actually created by shadow. Like it's all about shadow. Like it just shows you in nature. And they are portals. So what happens in the eclipse window is they're opportunities. A portal is an entrance and exit, so it's an opportunity to not take something through. And I'll come on to how you know what to shadow heal, but this particular eclipse window, because of what's going on with Jupiter and the other planets and the planets that are are in retrograde and stuff, the theme for this summer is all about freedom. And actually, what happens in shadow work is your life is your map. So if your freedom is restricted with an experience like lockdown, that is the right time to be looking at your wounds around freedom. Those ancestral wounds, thank you, Elsa, it's 14th of December, those ancestral wounds that, you know, have the memory of slavery, poverty, giving power away to rulers, being bound. And so this eclipse window is specifically on a collective consciousness, all about being set free. And generally, with shadow work in general, your life is your map. So whatever you're experiencing is the thing that you need to be working on if it's a block, if it's something that doesn't feel like it's flowing. And you're actually experiencing it so that you can work on it and heal it and purge it. It's coming up to come out, basically. And so the eclipse window opens on June 5th. And it's, you know, it is literally about, you know, what sets you free. How do you be free? What is freedom in the future? What was freedom in the past? And because it's opposite Jupiter retrograde, it's also bringing up a lot of energy around boundaries. And actually boundaries, my guide said today, are the opposite of being bound. This eclipse window is about becoming unbound. And so, and it opens on June 5th with the lunar eclipse, the full moon lunar eclipse. And so I strongly recommend being in some kind of ceremony that night. A little bit later on in this webinar, I'm also going to talk about why ceremony is so important at this time. But I really recommend doing some kind of ceremony that is about welcoming more freedom. Because actually, when I tune in about this eclipse window, what I see is that it's like our version of what freedom was actually isn't good enough. We almost have to heal that version and rewrite it for a better version of freedom, because our very kind of consumerist old reality around what freedom was just isn't the potential of what our freedom can be. And so that's really what we've got to be working on at this time. And then on June 18th, the next kind of big date in the forecast, and it's during the eclipse window, because basically part of what makes this eclipse so exciting is an eclipse window is the time that the healing happens. So it's not just when the eclipse happens, there's always a minimum of 2 eclipses, a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. And it's that window of time between them that is the best time for shadow work, transformation and healing. This eclipse window is rare because it doesn't just have 2, it has 3. And the eclipse, the solar eclipse on the new moon happens on the solstice, which is the solstice, whether it is the winter solstice or the summer solstice, is always about potential. You know, it's about the potential of the longest night or the longest day, the potential of the light. It's about connecting to potential, the promise of the future, the promise of the shift. And so for an eclipse to land on the solstice is rare, but there's actually another eclipse, another lunar eclipse that happens on the 5th of July, 4th or 5th of July, depending on where you are. So it's a triple eclipse. And what my guides say about it is that the first window, so the first half of the window from June 5th right up to the solstice, is the deep purge of all of that, I want to say the word crap, all of that stuff in our DNA, in our psyche, in our shadow, that are the old wounds, traumas, ancestral patterns, beliefs, sacrifices around binds around freedom. And the old Akashic, the Piscean Akashic, is literally going to be pouring out of our DNA. And then the solstice is this amazing opportunity to connect and embody your potential. And then the second eclipse window that comes straight after it, from the solstice to July, is like the attunement into the new Akashic, the new version of what freedom is, the new Aquarian way, that there's going to be such a download of frequencies, such a download of potential energy, such a download of upgrading, essentially. So it's like the first half creates space and the second half activates and fills that space. And that's why it's such an exciting, amazing eclipse window.